Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. This is data integration for Microsoft Dynamics CRM. It is a presentation that was presented live to the Philadelphia CRM User Group on Wednesday, June 29th at Sessions 52 in Cherry Hill, New Jersey. Cherry Hill, New Jersey being right across the Delaware River from Philadelphia. And we had a nice turnout yesterday, so I hope everybody can join us for the next meeting at the Philadelphia CRM User Group. I am Ian Smith. I'm the owner and president of Synchrotech Solutions. This presentation and slide deck is also available on our website. It's under the Business Technology Webinar Series section of our website. The content today will be talking about data integration, so some various types of data integration in general to do with Microsoft Dynamics CRM, both CRM Online and CRM On-Premise. Data migration is the movement of data from one system to another, usually a one-time data migration, whereas data integration could be an ongoing movement of data from one system to another. It could be real-time, near real-time, periodic, could be one-way, could be bidirectional. In general, the tools that you have to work with are SSIS, or third-party data integration tools, or custom programming. CRM as a source or a target is through the web service. You can access all of the entities and attributes that you need in CRM. It's when you go through the web service, it's so-called abstracted view of the CRM data. So you have access to everything you need, and then sometimes it's simplified view because the database can be normalized, and there can be a lot of related entities, but sometimes just going through the adapter makes it easier to view the data. It's a little bit slower when you're working with the CRM web service because just hitting a SQL Server database directly is very fast, but when you go through the web service, it's quite a bit slower. So if you're processing 1,000 records per minute with the CRM web service, that's pretty fast for that kind of transactions. Whereas if you're hitting the database directly, you can be doing many, many more records per second. Another way to get access to the CRM data is through Fetch XML. Typically using this as a data source. It's very flexible and easy to get at. You might know this from using the Fetch XML with custom reports development for CRM. The same source can be used for a data source in integrations, and it can be used for both CRM Online and CRM On-Premise. Excuse me for 1 second. All right. Real-time triggers are another way to get data out of the system, and we're going to show about 6 different quick demos today. We're going to show Excel. We're going to show real-time triggers. We're going to show Fetch XML. We're going to show SQL Server. We're going to show straight XML, which is like a data packet that has multiple records in one XML file. And then we're also going to show MSMQ, which is XML-based messaging, or message-based integration. Of course, SQL Server. Your source can be a SQL Server query, a table, a view, a stored procedure. If you're going to do real-time integrations, you need to set up some triggers in your CRM system. Also, it's nice to have if you can get the last modified on date, so then you can do incremental updates. You can see when the data was changed in your CRM system versus the last time the integration job was run, and that way it makes it really easy to pick up just the latest changes. When you're doing and thinking about setting up a data integration, You want to look at what kind of resources you have in-house. Do you have a SQL server? Have you ever used SSIS before? Do you have that kind of expertise? Do you have any other solutions in-house, like the Scribe? So that's kind of like the de facto data migration, data integration solution for CRM that's been around for 12 years or so. And then there's a number of other solutions. E1 Solutions SmartConnect has a long history with Dynamics GP, and they're based in Fargo, North Dakota. Innoport, Samigo. There's several other integration servers that you can purchase, third-party applications that are dedicated to. Most of those servers and applications aren't just going to be dedicated to CRM. They're going to be, they're going to want to leverage that technology and connect to all different databases, all different data sources, all different applications. But Scribe has been the one that's been around for the longest, and I'm quite familiar with it and happy with it. It's a great solution. The E1 Solutions also making some inroads into the CRM space, and then the Samigo I know is an inexpensive solution also that is highly capable. Innoport is being used for one of our clients, and they're high volume, and also new version coming out that they're happy with. So there's a lot of choices out there. So you want to look at the pricing. You want to see what the pricing model is, because with Scribe, they're looking at how many users you have in your CRM system, whereas with E1 Solutions, it's one price for the server. It doesn't matter how many users you have in your CRM system. Again, tools for integration, custom.NET is always an option. So if you have those kind of resources and it's a one-time thing and you can set it up that way, that's fine. For the rest of us non-programmers, these other data integration tools are great. We're gonna touch on a whole bunch of them today. The first is SSIS, and if you're going to be using SSIS with Microsoft Dynamics CRM, whether it's CRM Online or on-premise, you need the CRM connectors, the adapters, and there's the SSIS components are provided by Cozy Rock, SSIS Plus, or Kingsway Soft, and these are both downloadable, and you install them right in your SSIS, and off you go. You're good to go. If you need for them to be running in a scheduled mode with SSIS, then you do need to purchase the licensing. Scribe Insight or Scribe has at least 3 different offerings. The Scribe Insight is the on-premise server and console application, which can do the data migration jobs or the DTS data translation jobs, and then also the integration server, which is I think they call it the console, but that's where you can set up the publishers, and I'll talk about what a publisher does, and then integration jobs, which can be queue-based, they can be query-based, they can be file-based, they can be time-based, different integration processors, and nice way to get started if you haven't used any other tools before. This one is probably the most user-friendly, I would say. Online integration services has come a long way. It still doesn't do everything that the old on-premise one does, but then they're putting more development into the online integration services going forward. So I'm not saying it's going to have the exact same capabilities as the on-premise, but it does a fair share of work. We're actually not going to be looking too much at Scribe Online integration services today. We are going to look at Scribe Online replication services, and we're going to look at E1 Solutions SmartConnect in addition to SSIS and Scribe Insight for both a straight mapping and some queue-based integration. First thing you want to do when you're analyzing the integration to be performed is get in and figure out what the requirements are. as with any kind of IT project. But you know, look at the data sources, look at the data, you know, get down to the nitty-gritty, figure out how that data is going to map into the new system. ETL is what happens during a typical data migration or integration process. You're extracting it from the data source, you are transforming the data, mapping the data, and then loading the data into the target. Along the way, there's going to be formulas, which are these either derived columns or any kind of translations. You know, on a tool-by-tool basis, they call them slightly different things, but the purpose is basically transformation of the data to make it compatible with from the source system to the target system. Inserting or updating, this is kind of pretty important jargon or lingo that you need to understand if you're doing data migrations. Putting data into a database, one record. Adding a new record is an insert. Updating an existing record is an update. You obviously need a link there on some kind of primary key or alternate key to, it's got to be unique so that you can find the record and update it. If you want to do both at the same time, that's great. That's you can run your job and have the run through the first time and look for the existing records. If it doesn't find any, it inserts them. So the first time through, you're doing a lot of inserting. But then if you rerun the same jobs and it finds the existing records, it just updates those existing records. It doesn't try and add new ones if it finds an existing one first. Insert update actually tries to insert the record first, and if that fails, for example, if you have a primary key violation, then it'll actually then it'll go look for the existing record and try and do an update. Just a note on what's the difference between a CRM migration versus a CRM upgrade. If you're doing a movement of a CRM system from, say, just say for example CRM 2015 on-premise to CRM 2016 on-premise. Well, you know, you just have to upgrade. You don't have to migrate anything. All the customizations, all the data will come over with your upgrade. Another thing about redeploying, which is part of the upgrade process, is all those GUIDs are going to be identical in both systems, practically 100%. So that's always a good thing to know and to remember. But if you're migrating the system, why or when would you have to do that? If you're coming from CRM on-premise and you want to go to CRM online, you're going to have to migrate your data. So you can't just take the CRM on-premise database and redeploy it or drop it into the Microsoft CRM Online cloud. They just won't let you do that. So you have to migrate your data, and migrating, again, very similar to what we're talking about today, which is data integration, but more of a one-time thing. In order to migrate your data from one CRM environment to another, you got to get your customizations over there first, assuming you have customizations, custom entities, custom fields. So you want to move all your customizations from the legacy system to the new system. And if you're going from on-premise, let's see, what does this say? The first challenge is to move all of your customizations from the legacy CRM system to the on-premise. I think that means to the online, actually, so that's a typo there. And if you're going from CRM on-premise to CRM online, then the solutions may not import as easily as you would hope. So I have a little hack here for you. So try it. If it doesn't work, you might have to recreate the customizations on the other side. Proper sequencing, these are various different CRM challenges. So this is with any kind of data migration. I mean, you need to do things in the right sequence, so you can't populate accounts and primary contacts in the same step because the contacts might not exist yet. So first you populate the accounts, then you populate the contacts, then you can update the accounts with the primary contacts. Pick lists, you know, they're integers behind the scenes, and you know, a lot of systems will represent them as text, so you have to convert from the text value to the integer value. We're going to show that a little bit today. Also, GUIDs are basically just looking up the foreign key in any particular record of related lookups records. Activity migrations and integrations, they're always a little bit tricky. You have three different parts of the activity entity. You have the activity pointer, the activity party, and then the entity-specific activity record itself. That is the tasks, the phone numbers, the emails, and the appointments. Notes and attachments, again, a little bit challenging. You gotta dig into it. Some nitty-gritty, you know, very specific ways that fields that need to be mapped to make those work. So this is an example of an XML data packet that has multiple records in it. So this is from a Dodge report. It's a construction industry specific list of leads. And within that packet, you're going to get, well, first of all, this is a screenshot of an XML showing that there's a document file, and then there's also a schema file. So this is how you configure the job to read the XML file. And then this is looking at the data source and mapping it to the target. So in this case, the data source is an XML file, and the target is a CRM Online system. So in the lower part of the screen, you can see the mapping for field S105, source field 105, which is the name of the company, and we're actually going to use that as a lookup, and then we're going to also populate it. So it's just showing the mapping for the data formula and the lookup. And this is like a record by record test of what's in the data packet, and just showing one record. And for each record, we're going to process it in two steps. We're going to process the account first and then the contact. And we're going to daisy chain together a number of jobs. So we're going to first, and I have a naming convention here where I do you know, 0100, and then I put them in sequence so you can see that first we're going to process accounts and contacts, and then we're going to process job sites and job leads, and then bidders, and then standard includes text, and then some additional project text. So our first demo, actually there's a pre-demo, so this is not even in the list of the 5 demos that we're going to do, but I'm going to do a real quick update of just show you that with CRM 2016, you can actually go now to any particular information, any view, and you can export it to Excel, and you can open Excel, and you can perform some updates. So I'm going to sort this by month. Actually, sorry, I'm going to sort it by state. And I'm just going to see if there's any states that haven't been mapped yet to this pick list, because I have a pick list over here. So it looks like Texas hasn't been mapped. Not mapped, but you know, I'm just going to update the Excel spreadsheet. So previously, Texas pick list was not populated, but now in my Excel spreadsheet it is. And I'm just going to show that file save as. I'm just going to show that you can easily update an Excel file and then just re-import it, and you've basically accomplished something like data integration. And I'm going to put today's date on there. I'm going to make this one a -2 because it's the second time I'm doing it today. Now I'm going to go to the CRM system and I'm going to do an import. So I'm going to go settings, and I'm going to go to data management and imports, and import data. Choose the file, -2. Wait for it. Next. And submit. Finish. And so there we see it, and refresh. Hasn't quite started processing yet. So while we're waiting for that, I'm going to go to the official first demo. So let's see what we're supposed to do here first. We're going to go to E1 Solutions SmartConnect, and we're going to do a TSQL query of an AdventureWorks database. And we're just going to show that what we have with the SmartConnect is an all-in-one dedicated app server that's, in this case, good for migration. It's also good for integrations, but this is a very simple migration. Because it's just a one-time job. We're going to pull accounts from AdventureWorks, and we're going to put them into CRM Online. So I just double-clicked on that. I'm waiting for it to open. And I'm going to show you the source, which is a TSQL query from AdventureWorks database. There's 4 different tables that we've tied together. We can preview that. And the destination is Microsoft Dynamics CRM account. And the mapping, which is showing that we're moving over the business entity ID, the city, state, and zip, the account number, and I'm just going to go ahead and run that. So here it's processing. So it's got 100 records, and it should be moving them into our CRM online system. So while we're waiting for that, we'll look at the previous import, and we see that it just imported those 3 records that actually changed. So if I go to accounts, I can see, let's see, accounts. Do I have a filter on here? No, not really. So I didn't see the Texas accounts come through here. There they are. Okay, let me just see what the 950. Oh, okay. So this job must have already started. Usually I have things sorted in reverse chronological order by the modified on date. So that's probably because these jobs already started importing, which are the jobs that are coming in. So my jobs were overlapping there. So these are the jobs that are getting updated right now by the E1 SmartConnect. So there should be about 100 of those. And again, let's get the sorting. Okay, so you see there's going to be about 100 records that are getting processed. $134. Okay, well, we'll have to get some splaining to do there. But let's keep moving. The job that we just ran processed 100 records. So that was E1 Solutions SmartConnect, and the next demo that we're going to do, let's see, get my cheat sheet here. Is it's going to be Visual Studio. In the end, it's going to be SSIS. So this is the job that I'm going to run. I'm going to take a leads list from an Excel spreadsheet. So I just want to open up this Excel spreadsheet for a minute. I'm going to close these guys. Actually, I'm going to do a file save as here, just so I have some sample data to work with. I'm going to call it number 5. I'm going to save it. I'm going to change the tab down here in Excel, because that becomes the file name. I'm going to save it again. I'm going to close it. So that's just our standard lead list. And I'm going to import that into a SQL Server database. So you see I've done it before. I'm just going to show that again. I'm going to import first. So my source is a Excel file. Browse for it. And my destination is, okay, hold on a minute. That's my source. This is my destination, SQL Server. So I'm bringing it into a table. Next, next. I'm going to do a brute force method here because I'm going to allow it to, I'm not going to cause an error if there's a truncation. I'm just going to let it come in. I'm going to run it immediately and finish. So we just inserted 1,489 rows into this brand new table that we created. So there you see we have 1,489 rows of lead data. Now that I have the lead data in the SQL Server database, I'm going to go to the SSIS job. And you can see this one's pulling from a slightly different table, but it's pretty much the same thing. And I can even do a little bit more filtering here if I want to just narrow it down to take a couple records for sample purposes to do some testing. Derived columns is where I do some transformation. Sorry. Here I'm just parsing out the first name and last name, or actually concatenating it to come up with the topic of the lead. I'm hard coding some pick list values with integers. I know what they want. I know what I want them to be, so I don't have to go through a pick list. But if I needed to, I have a component for option set mapping. So that's just another component that we could use. I have both Cozy Rock and Kingsway Soft components over here for my SSIS workspace. This is the Kingsway Soft destination. So again, we showed the source. That's just a SQL Server TSQL data source. Derived columns is doing any translation, and then this is where we do the mapping. So I'm doing an upsert type action, so I could also do update or insert, or insert would be create. I'm going to show you the execute workflow also. I don't really think I changed anything there, so please stop spinning. When we do upsert, we have says primary key does not have an import or I'm going to change that back to alternate key because I think that's where it was. Okay, I'm not sure what I changed there. I'm going to cancel, and I'm going to come back in. Okay, so I did upsert with the alternate key, and these are all my configuration settings here. And because I'm using alternate keys, I can't really click this checkbox, which I love, but I can't use right now because I think it's because I'm using alternate keys. And here I show all the mapping. Yeah, I'm gonna tell you about that checkbox in a minute, because what this does is allows all the data to be updated without. And if it's identical, it's not actually going to update the record and update the modified on date. So that's a nice little feature. So here I'm just showing the fields that have actually been mapped. That's what that checkbox does. So you just pick the field from your source and you map it to the destination. You can also do lookups of the foreign keys here for the GUIDs of the related records for the lookups. I also have error handling, so I'm going to redirect any rows that error out into a separate path. So basically any errors are going to come out this way. Any successes are going to go this way, so they're just going to go into an Excel file. And I do believe that one of these error records is going to error out. So it's going to be 1,488 successes and one error. And the error, I'm just going to tell you what it is, basically, is when we did the concatenation of the first name plus last name plus company name, and I think I had some static text in there, but for the topic, it came to more than 100 characters. So it wants to truncate it. And this job is set up so that anything that has to truncate some data is going to cause an error record. So that's why it's nice that we're doing an update insert, because if I had to rerun this job, I could fix what I need to fix and then just rerun the whole job, and it would really just update that one record. So while we're waiting for that to run, I'm going to show you, if I can, let's see what we got here. No, that's all I wanted to show you for this one. Let's go into the next one. Again, you can follow along with the slides because I skipped out of the slide presentation after slide number 24, and there's 48 slides altogether, so you can follow along with what I'm doing here. So this is the first one I did, and then this is the one I just did just now. So there's some additional information here that I might be missing, but I want to really kind of focus on the actual demos, and you can go back and look at the PowerPoints whilst you're listening to the video or watching the video. I didn't talk too much about the alternate keys, but the alternate keys make it easier to map when you don't have an obviously unique field. Like, you can use account name, but I'm thinking that's why I had so many, like 134 records migrated there instead of only 100 last time, is because I think it found some with matching names and it just updated those records also. But if we had a better distinct unique key, primary key or alternate key, then that wouldn't have happened. So again, you know, follow along with the PowerPoint when you're watching this at a later date. So for the next demo, this time we're going to do a CRM to CRM. So far we've done Excel to SQL, and then SQL to CRM Online, and then we did what was the second thing we did? Oh, the first thing we did was SQL to CRM Online using the E1 solution SmartConnect. Then we did basically an Excel spreadsheet import into a SQL Server database, and then we uploaded that SQL Server table into CRM Online. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to take CRM Online over here, accounts. Am I doing it? No, actually I'm going to do leads. So I'm going to take the leads from this CRM system, and I'm going to populate the leads in the other CRM system. So let me switch over to the leads view. On both systems. And my source is going to be the fetch XML that's associated with this leads view. So in order to get the fetch XML, I have to go to Advanced Find, grab the fetch XML. It kind of looks like that. And just take a mental snapshot of that and tell me if that looks like this. So in this case, we're taking a CRM Online data source and also a different CRM system. So this is like a migration from one CRM system to another. In this case, it's CRM Online to CRM Online. And the source is this fetch XML that we just grabbed from the Advanced Find. So I pretty much just copied and pasted it. Interestingly, in the Advanced Find, I put in there, let me see if this is the right one. Oh, for some reason you can't see it here. Oh, there it is. Sorry. So I grabbed this phone number from the owner. So this is a lookup from the Advanced Find to go and get the phone number of the owner of the lead. Now, so we all know that that phone number is not in the lead record. It's in the owner's record. And the nice thing about that is it's just easy to bring in separate data. In the target system, I put that phone number. Let's see if I'm telling the truth here. Yeah, so it's not a lookup, it's actually in the record. So if I want to populate something into a record in the one side that's coming from a related record in the other side, I can do that. And that's reflected in the XML. So you can see the linked entity and the attribute. So the linked entity is the system user, and the attribute associated with that linked entity is it's just a phone number. So it's address to phone number, but it could have been any field. Then again, typical process for SSIS, we're going to do some derived column data manipulation. So a little bit of parsing out the first name and last name from the full name. And I'm hard coding a pick list value here. So again, I could have used the pick list, the option set mapping. The destination. So this time I'm able to use the primary key because the first time I populated, I pushed the primary key into the system, so it's kind of a demo thing, but I wouldn't really do that unless I knew that they were always going to be the same. But like if the data is always coming from the one system to the other system, then I can push the primary key and it'll always be there. But if somebody like creates a duplicate record on the opposite system and then they merge those two records and they pick the new record that they created in the new system, then that primary key is not going to match anymore, and it'll create a new record, which will create a new duplicate. So primary key in this case is not the best, and that's why the alternate key would be better. But I did want to show you that it's going to ignore any unchanged fields. So I'm going to go change about a dozen or so records of the leads so that we'll see 1,489 records will migrate. but that only about a dozen or so will show as being updated. So I'm going to go to the source system. I'm going to go to leads. I'm just going to find some leads here that say, let's find some that don't have an email address. Okay, so these guys don't have a website, so I'm just going to put in for 10 records. I'm going to edit their website, http://www.unknownwebsite.com. I'm going to change those records, and I'm going to run the job. I'm not sure that I actually changed anything here, but okay, I'll save it again, and then I'll run it. Just going to get a drink here while I'm waiting for that. I'm back. So we see 1,488 rows. What we're looking for is all green checks here. And while we're waiting for that job to run, I'm going to switch over to the next. Oh, it's ran already. So that was pretty quick. Let's look at our target system. I hit refresh here. I'm going to hit advanced find. And I'm going to edit the columns. And I'm going to put in the modified on date. So these are just kind of some routine things that I do when I'm doing data migration. You know, some of the really important fields that you're looking at: modified on date, created on date, because that tells you what's running, what's getting hit, and when. So this found about 15 changes altogether. So even though it ran for 1,488 records, it only found that 15 actually needed to be updated. And if we looked at the website, I'm going to put the website over here because I know I got 66 2/3% chance of hitting one of the right records. But I'm going to put it in here so we can see it. So there should be 10 records that have a website that says unknown, right? Okay, so okay, so we can sort. There's a little trick for you. If you want to sort, do a multiple sort in CRM on the column headings, you can do a first sort on the one column heading, then hold down your Shift key and sort again. And now that's not going to work here because these times are in seconds actually, so this is definitely in a specific sequence and it's not going to change based on a second sort. But if you wanted to do a second sort on a column heading, you just hold down your Shift key and hit the second column. So another trick we can do then is we can say, okay, show me, let's do it this way. Let me close this. Let me hit F5 here. And I'll just take these 15 records here. Anyhow, I think I showed what I need to show. I was going to show filtering here, but I'm sure you don't know how to do that. There's the 15 records, and about 10 of them have the unknown website. Okay. And they're the only 15 records that were updated. And we're going to move on to the next integration. And this is a Scribe publisher. So I'm just going to show you what it's going to do first, since we're here. So I'm going to go to Accounts. I'm going to go to Worldwide Importers. And I'm going to show that on both sides. So worldwide importers in California, and I'm going to show that it says worldwide importers in California here also. And I'm going to change it to worldwide something else in Pennsylvania. So I'm going to go to the source system. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to say worldwide web importers. I'm going to say that they're in Pennsylvania. Okay, save it. So let's see, let's go to here, and let's go to, let's just keep an eye on this. We can do a queue browser here. So we're going to see if this message comes through a queue. So here's my in queue. There it is. I caught it. So it's only going to be there for a second if I hit refresh. If I hit this and come back. It really shouldn't stay there for very long. There it's gone. So it's there for like 5 or 10 seconds maybe. It's longer than I expected it to stay there. I'm kind of going backwards here. So here we can see the execution log. Actually, I already have the execution log open. So let me hit refresh on the execution log. And so there at 10:18 a.m., here it says 10:18 a.m., we had one source record. And if I right-click it, I can see the message. So it had something to do with worldwide AdventureWorks PA 19101, Concord, PA. Where's the name? Where's the name? Worldwide Web Importers. Okay, so there you see the message that came across. It's an XML type message. So again, I'm working backwards here. We set up a integration processor, and the integration processor is a queue-based. So again, if you added a new integration processor, it can be file-based. So it runs a DTS. So that basically is running a job when a file in a folder is detected. So you can have files coming in via FTP, and we have a scenario here where, let me just show you. You have Scribe jobs, DTS jobs, Scribe data, Scribe data. It's not here. Well, we would have a folder that says waiting to process, and then when it gets done processing, it says already processed, and we have an FTP into the incoming folder, and then the Scribe job picks it up, and then when it gets done processing, it puts it in the processed file. So you can also have a job run on a schedule, and you can also have the job run on based on the results of a query. So whenever a query pulls back data, then it's gonna run that job. And then this is a queue-based. And then for any of these, basically what's going to happen is based on the initiation of the job, obviously you need to know which job you're going to use. So you just go browse for the job that's next in line. So there's those folders I was talking about, to be processed and already processed. They're not in the same file directory as some of the other development work I was doing, so they have to be in this specific folder, Scribe XML source data, and that's where those jobs ran from. So that's like the default folder where certain jobs have to run from. So let me cancel out of this one and show you the one that's actually already been designed. In this case, it's a queue-based integration. This is the DTS that it's going to run, and the settings are really just the message label, and okay, so this is how we're going to know to run the job. So this is basically saying, here's some specs on the XML message the message in the message queue that we're expecting, and here's the job that I want you to run when it gets there. So here's what the job looks like. So it's going from an account to an account, and so we already saw it work. We saw, when you change some data, whether it's I'm not going to change the account number because that would be kind of defeating the purpose. I would probably make that a read-only field because we're using that for the lookup. So you can see here it's using it for the lookup in addition to pushing the data into the field. The rest of the data formulas are super simple. They're straight source. It's going from an account to account, and these are mostly all text fields. So if they were pick lists or lookups like foreign keys, we'd have to do a lookup. So that's the DTS, and then continuing to work backwards. I'm not sure if this is helping you working backwards, but the place that we start would be where we actually set up the publisher itself. So you might be asking, what the heck is a publisher? So basically, if you look in the CRM system, on the source side, which is, I have running it in Chrome, and I have go to my customizations area. I'm going to go to customizations and customize the system. I'm just going to show that a plugin was created here, and nobody had to program this. It gets created from the application. And so there you see it. It's a Scribe. It doesn't want to. Okay, so there you see it. So it's a Scribe plugin, and it's looking. It's a change history plugin, and it doesn't really tell you much about it here. But I can tell you that this is very reliable, and that let's go back to the setup. I'll show you what other configuration options we have with that. So I'm going to double-click it. This is the wrong. No, it's right. So this is where we're specifying. No, this is not right. That's integration process. We need the publisher. So there we go. So the first step, we say, what kind of publisher it is. Got to wait for it. Be patient. Okay, so it's a Scribe. It's a Microsoft Dynamics CRM publisher. I give it a name. Pretty much then go to the settings, the properties of the publisher. So there's some pretty important settings here. So when do you want it to fire? You fire it on any update, any insert. What fields do you want to bring over? I said bring over the entire object, which can be pretty big. It can get even bigger if you also bring over the parent entity. So if there was a a sales order, you could bring over the parent customer, or if it was a sales order, you could bring over the related product items on the order. So that's a big data packet. So typically you want to specify not to bring over the entire object, but just to bring over certain fields. And then you can also put a message on the you put a priority on the message. And you can have some filtering here. So you can say ignore if, and so that's also helpful to not publish changes from, in this case, accounts that don't have account numbers, because they wouldn't really map very well, because that's the key field that I'm using. But other than that, you pretty much hit the publish button when you get to the end. You hit apply, and it basically goes out and publishes that publisher, or whatever. Yeah, I mean, it's a customization. It creates the plugin, and then every time a record is changed, it generates a message into the message queue, which can be processed through, and you saw the results. So hopefully, working backwards there didn't throw you off too much. But again, you can see all the messages that have come through over the last couple days. And you can do retry. If it doesn't work the first time, you can do some additional processing. So there's quite a bit you can do with that. You can do two-way integrations with this. Just have different messages with different labels going in different directions, and making sure that when a change comes in from a certain user, something like that, like a service account user, that you don't trigger a change in that case, because you don't want to create a loop, a feedback loop. So our last demo today is, it's going to be real quick, so we'll still try and keep it under an hour here, is to show that with CRM Online, if you accidentally delete your data, it's nice to have a backup. And if you're working with CRM Online, you don't really have a backup. I mean, Microsoft has a backup, but that's not your backup. It's not easy to get at. So what you can do is you can archive your whole database with Scribe Replication Services. So the first thing you would do is I created an Azure database in the cloud, and that you can do that in like 5 minutes. You just get your Azure subscription, and you can get a CRM, a SQL Server database, and set that up. And it's nice because it's in the cloud, and you don't have to buy a SQL Server hardware or software, licensing, any of that maintenance. It's just a simple old SQL Server, cloud-based. And I'm using that for my target. And my source is this CRM system, so it's all the records that are in this CRM system. And then I go to Scribe Online Replication Services, and I go to set up this solution, and I just give it a name. I'm going to use the cloud agent because everything's in the cloud. I'm going from CRM Online to Azure SQL Database Online. My source is this CRM Online system. My target is this Azure database. What entities do I want to bring over? I'm fine with the recommended entities. I'm going to get the account, contacts, leads, opportunities, incidents, and activities. I schedule it, and I'm done. I click OK, apply. It's already been done, so I'm not going to do it again. And I can see that now that it's running every night. And I can see that it's run successfully. The first night it was seeding, and there would typically be a lot more records here. This is just a small demo environment. And every night it reruns and finds only those records that changed and populates them. So the first time it ran, it found 27 accounts. And then the next time it ran, it found 103 accounts. And so it's just updating anything that changed since the last time it ran. And then there's certain records that it can't really figure out if it has changed because there's no modified on date. So those records are going to come over every night, but there's not very many records like that. And so what that also does is it gives you access. So in addition to archiving for backup purposes, it's also good for a data warehouse scenario. So you can then have access to your database, and you can run data cubes on it and use that as a source for your analytics, your Power BI. And it's nice too because your Power BI can also access this on-premise database, online database, this cloud-based database, and you don't need the Power BI professional license, which you would need if it was an on-premise SQL Server database. But you have access. This is the account entity, and now you have access to the database with your SQL Server Management Studio. So if you're familiar with those kind of tools, it's nice to have access to your database. So that's pretty much it, what I wanted to cover today. So I think we, scratched the surface of a couple of different data integration techniques. We didn't really get too much into the incremental changes that you can do with looking at that modified on date to pull data that changed since last time the job was run. But that's also a pretty standard approach for data integrations. The message queuing, I think, is a great option. It has to be the right scenario, but it's quick, it's efficient, and reliable. And the different tools, the E1 SmartConnect, the Scribe, the SSIS with the Cozy Rock and the Kingsway Soft. So hopefully everybody learned something today, and we'll look for us in some future webinar demo presentations. And thanks again for joining us. You can get the associated PowerPoint for this presentation on our website, and enjoy, and send me any feedback. You can find me on my website or on LinkedIn or Twitter. So I look forward to hearing back from you guys. Thank you. Bye.